This weekend, the lads come up against Crystal Palace, which, when you think about it, is just a big glass house. And hopefully, those villains will be the ones holding the stones. You know what I mean? This is Talk of the Trinity.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Talk of the Trinity podcast. I am Baz Will, and disappointing our many tens of legions of fans, I am once more not joined by my co-host, Mr. Trinity himself, Will Forrest. He has picked up a lucrative sideline in taxi services, so he will be out and about getting the views of the Villa faithful to feed in to his preview and reviews, which you will hear later in the show. Do not worry about that. But another place where you can keep up to date with all of the Villa news, views, previews, reviews is on our Twitter page at Talk Trinity. You can catch up on previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Talk of the Trinity, or you can listen to our audio episodes using our audio providers, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. We are also on Fan Hub. And getting straight into the events of the last week or so, a place which was a very happy place to be come 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon just gone was Goodison Park, where Villa came away with the 3 points, Everton 0, Villa 2. And you've probably heard the record breaking, it is technically a record, of Ollie Watkins becoming the first Villa player to score in 5 consecutive Premier League games. First Villa player to score 5 in 5 games since Paul Rideout. I mean, football did exist before 1992 for our younger listeners. And Andy Gray with the record currently with 7 consecutive games. But a very good performance from Villa, really, with that over-analytical viewpoint. Everton were, trying to build that fortress Goodison mentality. They beat Leeds the previous week. They beat Arsenal in Sean Dyche's first game. But it was really a very, you have to say, efficient performance, really. I mean, in terms of Mings, good Mings turned up, today, expertly marshalled that back line. Emi Martinez does what he does, get booked for time wasting, and also makes some great saves. And John McGinn in the team, in that new role on the right-hand side, looking reinvigorated, I think it's fair to say, since Unai Emery came back into the team. And as we mentioned, Ollie Watkins knocking him in. And it feels like last season's debate in terms of Emi Buendia. Should he be in the starting lineup? Should he be in the bench? He's created a bit of a reputation for himself last season of coming off the bench. And he did it again and scored a goal. I mean, massively helped by Connor Cody playing a game of musical statues in the back line, but still a nice move by Buendia finishing it off and leading to the comfortable, on the scorecard at least, a comfortable result for Villa. And 4 wins out of 5 away from home in the Premier League, same as Man City in the time that Unai Emery has been in charge. And, I think it's in terms of that side of the game appears to be very well set. And I've talked previously about how pleased after the Arsenal game, Emery came out and really talked about the things he was unhappy about, more than the fact that going into injury time, Villa were looking on course to get an unlikely point. And it was similar again after the Everton game in terms of saying that his main concern was going to be why the away form could not be translated to home. And only 2 wins out of 7 at home since Emery took over. And that is what he will be focusing on after the game, and that's a good attitude to have in terms of trying to improve this team, not getting too excited when we win, focusing on areas to improve when we lose. And as mentioned before, that is only going to lead us into good stead. I mean, I don't really want to pick too many downsides, really. I mean, Leon Bailey, not great in the grand scheme of things. Been getting one goal in the last few games. Is he going to be part of the revolution moving forwards after the summer? I mean, you'd hope so. You'd think there'd be a place in the squad for him. But we've talked previously about a striker being top of the list in terms of summer transfer activity. And yeah, you'd expect that to remain in place after recent performances. But momentum is difficult to gain and easy to lose. And Everton, when they got smacked 4-0 away at Arsenal straight after the Villa game, I mean, Arsenal top of the league, not the most outrageous result in the world on paper, but a game against Villa, which they were targeting, you would expect, thinking they could get 3 points. And, Villa were the better team, really. And I think especially in the second half, in terms of Everton, yeah, it would be fair to them, which I don't have to be because it's a video podcast, but I will. They, probably had the better of the first half. Kind of had a opportunity which was prevented by Tyrone Mings. But I think in terms of, you can see Everton's struggle has been the last couple of years, lack of goals. Villa have one striker in form, looking to get two at least in the summer, but good 3 points for Villa and keeps us in the 11th in the table, same points as Chelsea at time of recording. And at time of recording, the next game coming up for Villa will be on Saturday afternoon at Villa Park, whereby Crystal Palace are the visitors. And Palace in the table are 12th, only one place behind Villa. So on the face of it, fairly even game, you'd think. But Palace, you have to look a bit deeper in terms of their form currently. They have not won in 9 games since New Year's Eve when they went away at Bournemouth. So in the league, they've not won in the calendar year. Also haven't won in the cup because they got knocked out of that. But in terms of their recent performances, you could say they're unbeaten in 3. They drew at home to Palace. Palace drew at home to Liverpool last weekend. Previous game to that, they drew away at Brentford, draw at home to Brighton. They've drawn at home to Newcastle, drawn at home to Man United. So decent results in isolation, but yeah, those wins in that wins column are elusive to come by. But looking at their teams, the only team, it's difficult to make a case in terms of teams they definitely should have beat in that run. So they've navigated their way through that set of fixtures, and they'll be looking ahead, hoping for some easier games. I mean, they got Man City at home after Villa, then Brighton away, then Arsenal away. So doesn't really let up for Palace until April when they have a clearer run, unsurprisingly, to the end of the season. But as we've touched upon previously, we've spoken quite admiringly about Crystal Palace. Generally speaking, good team, good manager, decent players. I mean, you look in terms of the game against Liverpool. Liverpool have got their own issues going on at the moment, but well organised, got a point, clean sheet. There's a similar theme for a few teams in the league. Goals perhaps have come a little difficult, especially if Zaha is not playing. I mean, he was injured against Liverpool at time recording. Not sure if he's going to be playing against Villa. But they have a system they believe in and a manager they believe in, and it's going to be not a straightforward game, especially in light of the aforementioned issues Villa have at home in knocking teams off, especially teams who are going to play on the counter, which you suspect Palace will, based on their recent run of form and perhaps lack of goals in their team to date. But again, I think this is a team which is going to be more about what results about what Villa do, rather than what the opposition do. Villa have to find a way to translate that away form to home to try and get on the front foot. I mean, in terms of Emre has said his views, Villa get a bit too frantic at home and need to take the full 90 minutes, use the ball, build through possession, which you have more leeway to do away than you do at home, because the crowd at home are expecting to play on the front foot, to get forward, to create chances. So managing the opposition is going to be as important as managing the crowd, really, in this instance. So I think there's going to be an element of wanting to put on a show. I mean, especially for Villa, who score a lot of goals early in the Premier League. But in terms of team selection, Coutinho, just as you thought he'd turn the corner, he's injured. So not expecting him to play. Not really too many choices, in terms of the fullbacks, really. You'd say are the only areas perhaps up for great scrutiny. And as you've flipped Bundia in for Ramsey, Moreno for Din, and Young for Cash, perhaps. Those are the rest of the team, I'd suspect, largely picks itself at this stage. You might have a wild card Jerome playing up front, or Traore even, perhaps, but based on what Emre said previously, I don't suspect that will be the case just yet. So two teams, but draw specialists, Palace in recent times, Villa unable to get too many wins at home. Where does this look? And my co-host often says that whenever I predict Villa to win, that is generally when things go wrong. So, I mean, for good of Villa, I am suspecting whether I should go for a draw, just because that means that we will win. But I am going to go on the optimistic side, just to really annoy Mr. Trinity himself when he listens back to this podcast, because I'm going to go for a win. I'm going to be positive. Watkins on form, McGinn on form, Palace goal scoring an issue for them. I think we're going to do just enough to get a result, and we're going to try and break that home form hoodoo. So I am going to go for a home win, and I'm going to go 2-1. 2-1. I haven't talked about how Palace can't score. They will inevitably score against us. So I'm going to factor that into my score prediction. But I think we will have enough. And yeah, I'm going to go for a win. You've heard what I suspect my co-host, Mr. Trinity, will say. But if you want to know for yourself, what actually is he going to say? Well, fear not, because you will be hearing from him right now.
So, Baz there with his positive reaction when he says 1-1 draw, because he wants us to stabilise things now. For me, I'm always worried when Baz says that he wants the Villa to do well, or he thinks that we can do well, because him saying that just rings alarm bells. We always lose. I'm considering returning my ticket, if I'm completely honest with you, to the game tomorrow, but alas, I won't be doing that. I won't be letting Baz get me down and have that negative effect. We look at the Everton game, and it was a performance that we needed to grind out a win and get a clean sheet. John McGinn, fantastic, coming back into the team, which obviously he did against Arsenal, but really having an impact for both of the goals, as did Emi Buendia, who had to settle for a place on the bench. Ollie Watkins, 5 in 5, that's not bad at all. I mean, let's be honest. We called him Wally instead of Ollie at times. It was a slip of the tongue by Baz initially. But Watkins is one of those defensive forwards. A forward who will defend from the front. But with the extra hours he's putting in training, and with all of the endeavour that he has playing as the main man for Aston Villa, it certainly looks like he's going to be the future. Gabby's worried about that goals record. I certainly hope that Ollie Watkins will break that. And then Emi Buendia's lovely little shift to leave 3 Everton players for dead before hammering home a left-footed finish into the near corner. Wow, it was a thing of beauty. Emi loves playing against them, especially at Goodison Park for the Villa. Now, I'm not going to dwell on the past too much. It was a great 3 points. I'm feeling positive, and maybe that's because I'm going out this Friday night and I'm not seeing Baz. I don't see him every Friday night. I don't even see him when we record anymore. All by myself. Anyway, less of that. Here we are on the walk to Attic Brew in Bourneville. If you know, you know. Thinking about that home game against Crystal Palace, knowing that they have got many danger men. Elise, Eze, Zaha, Joaquin Anderson and Gay, 5 fantastic players who play for them. And Palace, they haven't been doing great recently, which, yep, you guessed it, it worries me because I'm a Villa fan and I know how these things tend to pan out. We want less of the usual. We need Unai to be the man to stop these frequencies from happening when we play against a team who haven't done well for a while. They haven't won for a number of games. They haven't won yet in the Premier League this year, 2023. So they're coming to Villa Park without scoring in the first half of the game since the Bournemouth match that they had. And you might be thinking, well, all right then, that is going to be 1 or 2-0 Palace, both goals in the first half. Let's put a bet on that, 16-1, whatever the stakes are. And that's how Palace are going to get their first victory. Do I think Palace will score? Yes, I do. I think that we're a little bit too casual at the back. Even with the mighty Tyrone Mings making goal line stops and generally being fantastic enough to earn a new contract. Even with the best goalkeeper in the world, and a massive congratulations there to Emiliano Martinez. He deserves it, not only for being the Aston Villa goalkeeper, but for being amazing for Argentina. But I think that we've got enough to pin Palace back. They're going to try to counter-attack us, and what we need to do really is to be able to quell that, to get forward, to get the ball to our maestros, to work harder than them, to run further, run faster, break them down, really get into them. And set pieces as well, I think, will be key. Not just defending, but attacking. We've got some marvellous set piece takers in Dougie Luiz and Luca Dean. Let's hope that Austin Theory, WrestleMania on the mind. Let's hope that Austin McPhee has been getting them ready for the game ahead. Oh, days, who'd thought there'd be this much traffic at this time of night? But I'm thinking with the industrious John McGinn back, and with Emi Buendia in the side alongside Ollie Watkins, we could be onto something good here. Now, I see the team being the same except for Buendia coming in for Bailey. And when legs get tired, Bailey comes on, as does John Duran, who I really hope I get to see tomorrow at Villa Park, out on the pitch, banging in goals. And I think he could, along with Ollie. And I think that we'll get 3 altogether. Palace will get 1. Aston Villa 3, Crystal Palace 1. Now, I've got to say thank you to everybody for following our Twitter page, for following us, subscribing on YouTube as well, for all the listens that we're getting on Spotify and on Apple. It really is appreciated. And the good thing about it is that we continue to grow. And we want to continue to grow more and more over the season, over the coming seasons. We love to engage with you all. We love having the guests on. And I'm sure that you'll see some more in the coming weeks. But until then, if you're down at Villa Park and you see us, say hello. You'll recognise the beanie hat. Well, you won't. You've not seen it before. It's blue. It looks a bit like a shipman's / a painter and decorators. But as I said at the start, Crystal Palace is just a fancy name for a glass house. And let's hope that it is us who are throwing the stones, launching the rocks, getting the first shots off, and that we hit our target and we see it all come shattering down around Palace. This has been Talk of Trinity. I'm Will Forrest. Before me is Baz Barrett. He's Villa till he dies. I'm Villa till I die. Cheers, tar. Thank you very much. Up the Villa.